Hello, my name is TJ Walker, and welcome to this episode of Renew. Renew is a show about the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University. In our college, we work to promote and enable the wise use, conservation, and management of our diverse natural resources. Also in our college, we have 3 departments, and today we're going to learn a little bit more about the Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Aquaculture. Today with me, I have Dr. Peter Allen. Welcome to the show.
TJ, glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. It's a pleasure to have you. So we'll dive right in. So you are a professor in aquatic sciences. So can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Sure. Great question. What is aquatic sciences? So it's kind of a broad field that catches everything aquatic, I guess. And so what I study is actually a subset of that. And I work with fish. And so fish are a part of the aquatic environment. And within fish, I look at the physiology of fish, is basically how they work. So if you look at fish, it's sort of like your car out there. You know, it takes gas, it runs better on certain gas, and different cars go faster and farther and do better than others, and fish are the same way. So look forward to talking with you about it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So there are certain type of fisheries that you study?
Yeah, so fisheries, I study, I guess, within fisheries, I look at aquaculture. So aquaculture it's agriculture and water would be a simple definition. Okay. And so it's culture of plants and aquatic animals. And I look at that, and then I look at how fish function and work, so the physiology of fish. And yeah, so fisheries, within fisheries, I work with a number of different species. Here in Mississippi, that's near and dear to us, are the catfish industry. And so here at Mississippi State, we're really fortunate. We've got a College of Veterinary Medicine. We've got an extension center in the Delta, which is the western side of Mississippi. And that facility is a conglomerate with the USDA, Agricultural Research Service, Mississippi State, Department of Wildlife, Fisheries, and Aquaculture, and the College of Veterinary Medicine here. So we work with catfish here, but I work with other fishes too. Okay. Not just catfish, but if I didn't say this yet, support the local catfish industry. It's a good product, and it tastes good too.
Right.
But I work with some fishes that would be considered, I guess, relic fishes or primitive fishes, and things like here in Mississippi we really have a diverse group of fishes. So we've got things like the gars. And so a lot of people are familiar with these in sort of these backwater areas, some of these slow-moving waters that are known as bayous here, but gars, and we have tarpon on the coast. And these are really neat fishes. They're what we'd call partial air breathers or bimodal breathers. Okay. And for our viewers out there, a bimodal breather would be just that. It breathes in 2 environments, both in the air and the water. And so there's lots of really neat questions we can ask about these fish, and they tell us about the past environment and our modern environment too. So they're our survivor species. So both commercial aquaculture, some of these relic species, and then for recreational fishing, fishes, largemouth bass. A lot of folks love to catch fish. Mississippi is really well known for crappie. And so our next, my student Matt will talk in a few minutes about recreational fishes and crappie. But yeah, so we're doing all kinds of different things, you know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So is it safe to say that your research is centered around recreational fishing and food, or do you focus on one area?
We're a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll, TJ.
Nice.
So we do a little bit of both, and we're really flexible. So we have projects going on right now with catfish and commercial catfish. We work with both the ponds, the growers, the processors. We work with food scientists here on campus in terms of so our consumers out there, they get a catfish, they make sure it's a good catfish, quality of the fillet, muscle texture, those types of things. And we also work with, on the recreational fisheries. We're trying to make sure that folks when they go out to one of our many ponds here, or rivers in Mississippi that are managed by the state, that they have a great experience. They catch a fish, and the fish are healthy, and there's a good community of fishes that are out there.
Nice. So another question, does climate change affect your research by chance?
You know, that's a great question, TJ. And you know, what I'd say is that what we know in the aquatic world is we're in hot water. So climate change, yeah. You know, audience, forgive my humor. That's as good as it gets for the students in the class. But yeah, you know, fish are unlike us, so we are endothermic, fish are ectothermic. So as the temperatures get warmer or they get colder, fish have to adapt to those temperatures. And so physiologically, they have a suite of enzymes that regulate a lot of physiological functions. And so just like us, if the water gets too hot, if we get a fever, you know, that's not good. And so every species of fish is adapted to sort of a certain range of a low temperature and a high temperature. And when it gets beyond that temperature, there can be problems. So case in point, for channel catfish, our industry, we know that the fish grow really well from about 27 to 31 degrees Celsius, which is basically kind of your high 70s to mid 80s, something like that in terms of temperature. And so we take the fish, and it's a natural fish from our region, and we put them in ponds, and the ponds tend to be fairly shallow, and they're well exposed to the environment and temperature. And so what that means in terms of climate change is we have a warming environment, or extreme cold, or these extreme events that we've been having. We've got a shallow water that's highly exposed to the air, so temperatures can really fluctuate rapidly. And yeah, we have to look at this to see, are these fish going to be okay? Do we need to be culturing fish that have you know, tendencies to be able to handle these high temperatures or low temperatures or extreme events? Yeah, it's
nice. Yeah. So you're definitely conducting research that is impactful globally, and so we really appreciate you sharing that information. We're going to take a break, and we'll be right back in just a second.
Want a career as big as the outdoors? Want to have an impact on the environment? The College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University delivers hands-on training, ensuring clean air and water, wildlife habitats, and a sustainable environment. Creating new wood products and retooling old ones for today and tomorrow. Find a career in whatever path you choose. Majors in forestry, natural resource and environmental conservation, sustainable bioproducts, wildlife, fisheries, and aquaculture. Want a career as big as the outdoors? Choose the College of Forest Resources at Mississippi State University.
Joining us now is Matthew Nichols, who is a master's student in wildlife fisheries and aquaculture. Welcome to the show, Matthew.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. No problem. So you are pursuing your master's, but can you tell me about your bachelor's degree, where you're from, and what brought you to Mississippi State?
Yeah, so I'm actually a Mississippi resident. So I'm actually from South Mississippi, a little small town called Tylertown. Not a lot of people know about it, but it's the way I describe it, it's about an hour north of New Orleans and about an hour south of Jackson. So it's kind of in the middle of the two big towns. But yeah, so I lived there, and I went to Delta State University in my undergrad, so on the western side of the state in the Delta. And I actually pursued a bachelor's degree in environmental science and wildlife, where I was interested mostly in like ornithology and like birds and stuff. And when I was working, well, in my senior year, I started getting into fisheries and aquaculture, and that kind of led me to being here at Mississippi State in my master's.
Gotcha. So was it something about the aquaculture and fisheries realm that intrigued you? Like what led you to make that decision to pursue?
Yeah,
a master's?
absolutely. So like when I was in undergrad, I was actually had the chance to work at the Extension Center with the USDA people, work with catfish and a lot of physiology, catfish and some genetic stuff and moving fish around. And really, I didn't know much about fisheries up to that point in my senior year. And I was like, man, this is like really awesome. Like I got to kind of work with the people I worked underneath was like Dr. Brian Ott and Bosworth working out there, and they were really helpful, helped guiding me, learning things, always open to teaching me new things. So they really helped me kind of lock in on a career that I wanted to choose, and I got to work with like microorganisms in water and stuff like that. It was really exciting, and I really just kind of took off from that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, just fun fact, I'm a small town guy also from Prentice, Mississippi,
Okay, yeah.
near Tylertown, and we did a lot of backyard fishing. And crappie was one of the game fish that we love to fish for. So, you're studying crappie, right?
Right.
So, can you tell me about that research and kind of what's going on with your project?
Yeah, so like my project focuses mostly on like the spawning and rearing techniques of crappie for hatcheries mostly. So we're taking fish from the wild, we're collecting wild fish, and we're bringing them into the hatchery, and we're strip spawning them, and then we're taking them and stocking them into these aquaculture ponds, and we're studying like their growth and development, mostly looking at their larval to juvenile stage, trying to see what they're eating, what they prefer, do they have a like selection for like water quality affect their growth, and small things like that. So yeah, and that's what I'm doing.
Okay. So how do you collect these fish? Is there a certain technique that you use, or are you just using those backyard techniques like I just mentioned?
Oh yeah, backyard techniques do also work. So there's multiple different ways we collect crappie, especially like this past spring is when I collected my fish to do my research. And so I worked with the Department of Wildlife. We used a contraption, it's called electrofishing. And basically it's like this boat with this electronic probes that go down the water, and we'll ride like the lakes and we'll just like stun the fish. Okay. And it stuns them for like a minute, and then we'll bring them, put them in the boat, and take them back to the hatchery. Gotcha. And do stuff like that. Also works with the Magnolia Crappie Club. They're actually like their tournaments, so they'll go out and they'll fish these big tournaments, fish against each other, and they bring them in to weigh them in. And I talked with those guys, and they donated some fish to me, helping me get some fish for my research. Yeah.
So we have about a few seconds left, about 10 seconds. So what do you hope to gain from your studies?
Yeah, so like for knowledge-wise, I'd like to really try to fill in some of those knowledge gaps with that early juvenile to larval stage fish. There's really not a lot of information out there about the growth and survival of these fish and that stage of life. And also like the holding periods of these fish, like can we improve like holding and spawning efficiency for these fish in the future for the state and local hatcheries around the Mississippi.
Wow. This is great work, Matthew. So we appreciate you sharing that information with us and sharing more information about your journey to Mississippi State. Yeah. This has been our episode of Renew. We thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.